Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go ahead and call this regularly scheduled special commission meeting of November 12th. Obviously, we were off yesterday in celebration of Veterans Day, recognition of Veterans Day. To order, I'll begin with I asked for an approval of the agenda. I do have to note that there's a Scribner's error in item 3. It's a first reading for a small-scale future land use map from industrial to commercial, and that should show as CPA 24-09. I don't have any other amendments or changes to the agenda as it was published, so with that, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
Motion.
I have a motion from Commissioner Maison, second from Commissioner Coleman. Any comments or questions on the motion on the floor from the dais? Any public questions or comments on the motion on the floor to approve the agenda with that one Scrivener's error? Hearing none and noticing the absence of Commissioner Martin, who is out of the state right now, I'll go ahead and ask for all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Would you please rise for the saying of the invocation by Pastor Joy Glanz and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, which will follow. Pastor, welcome.
Thank you, everyone. Please pray.
Is your microphone on?
I'll get it.
Oh.
It's on.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Please pray with me. Heavenly Father, we gather this evening to do the work of the people. May your grace be evident as those same people share different values, opinions, beliefs, creeds, and whatever else separates us as humans. May we find common ground, though, while being respectful of those things that do separate us, and come together for all things that are good and right for the people. Lord, guide our leaders to move our community forward, while at the same time remembering our history. For history is what makes our town what it is today. A close, caring, hard-working group of citizens who are the salt of the earth. Bless this board as they work through issues and tackle hard questions tonight. May your light shine through and help us remember we are all in this together. In thy precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Commissioner Clark. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pastor Glanzer. Before we move to presentations, Ms. Stacy, I think we have a short introduction that we want to welcome somebody new.
Yes. Good evening. Sorry. I'm here this evening to introduce our new CRA and planning specialist, Chelsea Bakaitis. Please stand and say hi.
Welcome to Newberry. Very excited about a CRA.
Yes, she's one of our new team members. We've got Uma in the coordinator position, and she will be doing planning and CRA stuff for us, and we're super excited to have her on.
Awesome.
So
well, welcome to Newberry. Welcome to the team. Thank you for introducing. And I don't know what Stacy said to you, but you don't have to stay the whole meeting, right?
I already told you.
Yeah. All right, and I think I'd like to ask Commissioner Clark to take the lead on our first presentation. This is the Newberry Veterans Memorial Update. I know we've got some special guests here tonight who have done the city a wonderful favor.
We do, Mr. Mayor, and so first, because there was the band's here and they've done a wonderful job and given us some money, so I would like to ask Miss Debbie Boyd to come up first, and as Miss Debbie Boyd gets ready to present the Veterans Memorial Update, at this time, I would also like to thank Miss Lori Pfizer and the symphonic band members who have graciously, with a lot of hard work and due diligence, sold T-shirts for this project, and I got to listen to them play the Marine Corps hymn, which was special to me. So I would love to just say thank you very much. And I'll ask Miss Debbie Boyd to say a few things, but just for those who want to see it, here's the check that they give us for the Veterans Memorial Program.
Woo! Now, before we're all said and done, we're going to need to get some pictures with you guys and that check. But let's hear about the update, and then let's hear from the kids.
Pictures?
Yeah. Let's hear from the update and hear from. You want to hear from the kids first? Your kids first.
Yeah.
Right, will you introduce?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we know how much goes into fundraising because we've done a fair amount of that over the last couple of years. And we just want to say thank you so much for your time and energy and your thoughtfulness in doing this T-shirt fundraiser for us and presenting us with a check. And Commissioner Clark's right, we did have the opportunity to go and listen to the band play, and my heart swelled with pride as I listened to the medley of military hymns. Okay, let's go ahead.
Look at some pictures.
Hey, do you want to come down and introduce the kids, Ms. Pfizer, before we?
Yes.
Yeah, let's,
Hello, thank you. I'm Lori Peiser, the band director at Oakview Middle School, and these are some of our band librarians who serve the band in all kinds of ways every day. So they're representing our program. Our program's about 150 kids, so obviously we couldn't bring them all here tonight. So we have Lily Nobles, Emily Odom, and Liana Trinos representing the program tonight.
wonderful. Well, guys, we are so appreciative of what you did for the community, what you did to recognize the veterans. It always is kind of special when students take the lead and they hear about something and they recognize a need and they work with their teachers. And I just want to say, if you ordered a shirt through the community, I still have it in my car, and I'll meet you anywhere you want to meet. But let's get some pictures and give these guys a big round of applause for doing everything you guys have done. And we'll have some pictures right here, so get Miss Debbie and Commissioner Clark. You want to get
Mr. Mayor, so I think Debbie, go ahead and present them with a little appreciation certificate and a thank you from us, and then we'll do it all together.
All right, I like it.
Oh, thank you. That's lovely. So it says certificate of appreciation to the Oakview Middle School Band. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank y'all.
And then where would
We
you
always
like
have
us
to
to?
find an awkward space.
This way?
Yeah.
Get right here. We're going to get that check in the front.
Yeah.
And we'll all fit in this little spot
Come on
here.
in, Debbie. Or the
Yeah.
girls.
Get those young ladies right here, front and center.
Well, come on in.
We can
I ain't gonna bite you.
all do it. I know.
Got everybody?
1, 2, 3, smile, smile, smile.
Thank y'all very much. Yeah, we'll get it in there.
And as a special treat on a school night, if you guys need to go, you do not have to stay. We know you got lots of homework, and that band director, she makes you practice every single night, you know? That's true. All right, Ms. Debbie, tell us a little bit more. We're already 700 down.
Right.
That's right, we're chugging along.
$700 closer.
Yeah,
Okay. So,
Click on the side.
on the side of the clicker button, on the clicker button in your hand, there's a little on or off. Yeah, just make sure
is
it's,
that
are we on?
that it?
There we go.
And I just hit the. that
There it
arrow.
is.
Okay. Yeah,
That's a pretty memorial up there.
isn't it? It's beautiful. So, so these are our sponsors to date, and 15 monetary sponsors, and there will be 6 in-kind sponsors, probably more by the time we start constructing. So 146,142 in monetary sponsorships, and that is those that fall in the 5 sponsorship levels, starting at $1,000. Our total deposits are $180,940. And so those were deposits from T-shirts and bricks and the gala and different things like that. So as of last night, we had sold 243 plus one that came in after this presentation was done, so 244. And that's 171 4x8 bricks and 73 8x8 bricks.
And Miss Debbie, let me tell you how much I appreciate you extending the deadline on those bricks, because my family cannot decide on what they want to write on every single one of them. And I've said, guys, tomorrow's the day now. We're going to miss the deadline.
Well, you would not believe how many were coming in at the last
Yeah.
minute. It's hard to stay ahead of them, but it's a great thing to be burdened with.
Yeah.
I'm not burdened at all. Okay, so to date, our gross brick receipts are just over 15,000. And I just wanted to let you know what our engraved brick costs for the 243 is $52.38. And then what we're going to do is we have enough space for 1,000 bricks in the park. And so what we will do when we get ready to order these in 5 weeks is at that time, we will, right now there is 70% 4x8s and 30% 8x8s. So that's what we will order in the way of blank bricks to make up the difference. Does that make sense? And so our net to date is 6,380. And, you know, we said that when we started off that, you know, the sale of the bricks was not going to pay for the memorial, but oh my gosh, is it looking good all the time. All right. And as the mayor mentioned, I called Brick Markers on Friday to find out about, you know, to let them know that we were getting ready to order some bricks. And they said because we are taking delivery in March, that our lead time has been shortened. That gives us 5 extra weeks. But as the mayor mentioned in his Facebook post, don't wait. There's nothing like the present time to go ahead and order your bricks. And then that's the flyer with an update on it. And that's it.
Well, thank you so much. Commissioner Clark, you guys have done great work with this committee. I appreciate the opportunity to sit down and break bread with the committee and hear about all the hard work that they've been doing for a year. It's incredible to see this community come together, $180,000, and still going strong. So I think you've got some other things in the works. Do you want to give a little prelude to any of those?
Mayor. So I will say that Mr. Denny over at Central Florida Electric, he's the general manager or the CEO, whatever. He has built 14 American flags out of fire hose, which here's the fire hose flag, they call it. And he is literally, it's a one of a kind. This is number 14 built. Every one of them's different. And we have some donations in the pipeline. We have some people we still need to get in contact. And this particular here, we don't know if we're going to try to get an auction going on, or a bid of some kind, or some high bidder. We don't know yet, but this is what it is. It's over 6 feet long and over 3 feet high, and it is heavy. But it would be an absolute cool piece in the middle of this thing. If you can see it, it says "Made in the USA," so it's even a little bit better.
And I saw it in real life.
Came from Newberry,
and it is gorgeous. It is gorgeous.
So this is what we want to do as part of our fundraiser to get this thing sold, and Mr. Denny didn't charge us one dime to do it. It was, we give him the fire hose, he built it, but like I said, we've got other ways that we're starting to generate some more money, so that's the ultimate goal here.
That's awesome.
So
Now, I know
thank everyone.
You're thinking about how to do it, but if anybody in the audience wants to go ahead and bid $5,000, we could probably close this auction out right here, right now, and we can make this happen today. We'll go to his house and get it, load it up in your truck. Just put it out there. Put it out there. All right. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for all the work, Miss Debbie. I love the kids. The band got together. It's a great shirt too. So wonderful job to everybody. All right, that's going to move us to public announcements. Your commission likes to hear from you frequently and often, so they set aside this time at the beginning. These are the announcement types, non-controversial. If you got something more in depth to talk to the commission about, there's a 5-minute public comment at the end of the night. So if you got garage sale coming up, anything like that you want to let folks know, now's the time. Go ahead and queue up. Yeah, come on down. You know, if we maybe have a festival this weekend, you know.
Actually, I do have something. Thank you, Joy Glanzer. You have so wonderfully appointed a Newberry opioid task force, and on Thursday we're having one of our events called From Silence to Solutions, and we have a local, a person from the county that is going to come and talk about his journey through addiction, recovery, and now what he's doing for the world. And so it's at 5:30 across the street at my office, 25527 Newberry Road, and I hope you can come. It's only for an hour, and you can support the opioid task force by doing that. Thank you so much.
Very powerful events.
It's a Thursday night, day after tomorrow. Yep.
Thursday, 5:30.
5:30.
at
5:30 to
Glanzer
6:30,
Realty.
just an hour. Yeah, we'll have some snacks and question and answers too. Thank you.
Always powerful moments to hear other people's.
The speaker's name is Lee Scott, and
thank you for what you're doing on that task force, Ms. Joy. Any other public announcements? Hearing none, we'll move to the consent agenda. I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as it was published. I have a motion from Commissioner Clark, second from Commissioner Mazon. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. That moves us on to legislative public hearing, first reading ordinance 2024-28 CPA 2409. This was the Scrivener's error. And Ms. Uma, are you going to lead us through this? Mr. Attorney, you want to go ahead and read that ordinance in for us?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. This is an ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida, amending ordinance number 4-91 as amended relating to the amendment of the future land use plan map of the City of Newberry Comprehensive Plan under the expedited amendment procedures established in sections 163.31842 and 3 of the Florida statutes and in conformance with sections 163.3161 through 163.3215 of the Florida statutes, providing for a change in the future land use classification from industrial to commercial on certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Newberry, Florida. Alachua County tax parcel number is 01898-000-000 on a site consisting of approximately 1.28 acres, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2024-28, CPA 24-09 upon its first reading by title only.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, everybody on the dais. I am Uma Sarmishta, Community Development Department. I'm reading Ordinance 2024-28 for future land use map amendment from industrial to commercial on 1.28 acres. The motion to recommend today is the City Commission to adopt Ordinance 2024-28 CPA 2409 in first reading. If forwarded, the City Commission second hearing will be held on Monday, November 25th, 24 at 7 p.m. So this is a small-scale future land use map amendment from industrial to commercial. Property is located at 849 Northwest State Road 45, consisting of approximately 1.28 acres, identified by parcel 01898-000-000. The petitioner is Joy Gansler. She is the agent for Coleman's. And the proposed use is the retail shop, which is Shirt Shack, which is, they are opening soon, and we are all very excited. This was just due diligence we did because it is in our corridor and it was a industrial property, and being it compiled to our zoning laws, we are moving it to becoming a commercial property. So as I said, it was industrial, and we are just doing it to the commercial to make it compile to our zoning and land use of City of Newberry. Short Sack is coming. It's a beautiful building, and we all are excited. So as a staff find the request consistent with the City of Newberry Comprehensive Plan and Land Development, I am here for any question, and the applicant, Joy Glanzer, is also here if you have any question.
I just want to say, before we move to questions, I want to say thank you to staff, because I know that we got started over there before we did this. So I know some of the commissioners are probably saying, well, I've already kind of gone in there. I thought, why are we here asking? And staff, as soon as staff found out it was wrong zoning, as soon as the applicant came in, we told them it was the wrong zoning. But staff also said, we like commercial. We believe this is a good use. It's going from industrial to commercial. They're at risk, but we didn't issue a cease and desist. We let them keep going. And I think that's the kind of business-friendly mindset that we want to encourage when it's kind of when you're moving from a lesser use or lesser intensity use, and you are inviting that commercial. So we are doing things a little out of order for this one, but I think in the grand scheme of things, our staff handled that situation in the right way, because they could have just said, you got to stop, and that would have put him way behind before opening for Christmas. So I can say all that because we're in legislative. Once we need quasi, I'll have to be quiet. But does the commission have any questions for Commissioner Farnsworth?
Do they already have a business license?
Not yet, we are working on that.
Okay,
I
so
think they are still waiting for CO, and as far as I remember, we are all done with our inspection, so very soon.
okay, so they were never issued a business license.
They are doing a soft opening right now, but not a full opening with the
Okay.
business license right now.
Other questions from Commissioner Clark?
So, in the zoning, and it ain't a big deal, because staff did a great job, but if something is higher, like industrial, and this is coming in there as commercial, why wouldn't we just leave it alone and let them do their thing? Why? Because now it's a spot commercial inside of an industrial? No?
No,
It looks red and green,
No, so the green is the agriculture,
the agriculture?
yes.
So it
but,
don't change no kind of spot to make it commercial or industrial? They're the
If-
same? That's what I'm just asking, if one's higher, why wouldn't you just let the lower one go in and do his thing?
Not with the, if it's in the different commercial zoning, then it's okay, but from industrial to commercial, there are some restrictions and more, just for the retail store, it's better to have a commercial than the industrial zoning,
Okay.
so. And since it's a overlay corridor, we like it to be commercial more, so.
So do we have to do each lot as they come in if they're industrial like that?
If they want to, yes, if they are looking for,
We would have
we
to
would
just do each one instead of making them?
as the applicant will come in, we will check on all the requirement, what is the purpose of that and how we can change that. That's how we are going case by case right now.
Okay.
I hope that
The
answers.
two properties to the north are already commercial, as you can see in the image on the right. So they're as staff and the city would desire it to be. Each one of those parcels, as they come in to develop, will encourage them to rezone to commercial. We've already encouraged the agricultural to the south. They've just not moved forward with the rezoning yet. I think if it's up for sale. If they get a buyer that wants to do something, then they'll run right down and ask us to rush it through. That's right, it is, and it's sold for a commercial purpose.
So we just need a good realtor telling people you got to change that zoning before you start building the commercial property, right?
And Mr. Mayor, I'd also just point out for everyone's clarification, the prior use didn't meet the zoning category either.
Yeah.
And
Industrial.
yeah, it was
It was
an
office.
engineering office building, and all of our staff are so new that they didn't realize that. It seemed like we were going from an engineering office to retail, which would be the same zoning category. It took a little bit of research to figure out that, no, the prior use didn't comply with its zoning and it needs to be changed, just so that we get it right on the books, so to speak.
All right. Any other questions? Okay. Can you put the recommended motion on the, do I have that motion?
Motion.
I have a motion from Commissioner Maison, second from Commissioner Clark. Any comments, questions, motion on the floor from the dais? Public comments, questions on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously. We're going to be moving into a quasi judicial hearing for item 4. And this means the commission is going to stop being a legislative body and become a judicial board. That means we have to follow certain rules and adhere to a different standard of decision-making. The primary rule must follow concerns testimony and substantial and competent evidence. Standard must be met when the judicial board makes decisions. The standard states the following, and I quote, "All public testimony when taken under oath, everyone testifying was subject to cross-examination. All documents and exhibits shall be entered in evidence. Giving opinion testimony is limited to experts, closing argument is limited to the evidence of record." I'm going to ask the attorney to now read into the record the ordinance on first reading, please.
An ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida, relating to the rezoning of approximately 1.288 contiguous acres, more or less, pursuant to a petition by the property owner of said acreage, amending the official zoning atlas of the City of Newberry Land Development Regulations, providing for rezoning from industrial zoning district to commercial intensive CI zoning district on certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Newberry, Florida. Tax parcel number is 01898-000-000, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, providing an effective date. Appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2024-29, LDR 24-22, on first reading by title only.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, would you please swear in the applicant, staff, anyone wishing to participate? If you're here to speak to either quasi judicial item tonight, let's go ahead and get swearing in done. So if you're on the quasi tonight, let's go ahead and swear you in now. For the commission meeting, correct.
Please raise your right hand and state your name for the record, starting with
You're-
Do you hereby swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? You have been duly sworn.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Before we begin, let's disclose any ex parte communications and disclose whether any member physically inspected the property. Remember, ex parte communications are any transmission of information or conversations that have bearing or influence on any voting member's decision. Let's go ahead and do it for both quasis and the condition. Remember, we have a BOA also, so we'll have to do this again for the BOA. Commissioner Coleman? Either
I
one?
checked 23andMe, and I don't think we can at all, so just let you know.
I didn't follow that at all. Did anybody else follow that? Did you follow that? You got it?
Anybody else?
Okay.
That's
Oh, the
DNA testing.
23andMe. Now I'm a little slow. Let's what's your COVID coma thing? It's getting over here. Commissioner Clark?
None.
Commissioner Farnsworth? Commissioner Mazon? I'm a non-voting chair, but I have nothing disclosed for either quasi tonight as well. I'm going to go ahead and explain the order of presentation we're going to follow for every quasi judicial item for us tonight. We'll hear from a staff overview, then the applicant has the opportunity to make a presentation with no time limit. Staff is going to give their report and recommendation also with no time limit. Nobody has contacted me wishing to claim a third-party intervener status for either of the quasi judicial. That's going to move us to public comment. Any member of the public wishes to speak to this agenda item has 3 minutes to do so. Then we'll have cross-examinations, and then members of the decision-making body through the chair can ask questions of the staff, applicant, or anyone who participates. Then we'll hear final arguments. Then the city attorney will advise the decision-making body applicable on the factual findings must be made to approve or deny the application. Then we'll deliberate, and after deliberation, vote should be taken to approve, conditions continue, or deny. Ms. Uma, go ahead. I'll never have to read that again as long as no one else comes into the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everybody. This is Uma Sarmishta, Community Development Department. I'm reading Ordinance 2024-29 for rezoning from industrial to commercial intensive on 1.28 acre. This is the same parcel which we talked about for the future land use. We are doing the rezoning too. So the motion for recommendation, the City Commission adopt Ordinance 2024-29, LDR 2422. If forwarded, the City Commission second reading will held on Monday, November 25th, 2024 at 7 p.m. It's a small scale, not a future land use, a zoning amendment, I'm sorry for the error there, from industrial to commercial intensive. Property is located at 849 Northwest State Road 45, consisting of approximately 1.28 acres. It is identified as a parcel number 01898-0000.000. The petitioner is by Joy Glanzer, the agent for Coleman's. The proposed use is retail store called Shirt Shack. As I said, it was industrial, and now we are moving into the CI zoning, commercial intensive, which is all the other zoning in the corridor there. This is the beautiful property, and we are looking forward to have a good retail store there. Staff find the request consistent with the City of Newberry Comprehensive Plan and Land Development Regulation. I am here for any question, and so as the petitioner. And do you want her to come here?
All right, is that, since I see the recommendation, is your staff's presentation done?
Yes.
Ms. Joy, can you just come up to the mic and let us know if you have any objections, anything staff just read into the record?
Thank you. No, that was a great presentation, and we welcome the Coleman family and Church Shack to Newberry.
All right.
We're the first expansion out of Sebring, so thank you.
Now at 23andMe, Coleman, that's all clicking now. See, I'm just a little slow.
Oh,
I'm getting it. Yes, yeah, we were both a little slow. All right. That's going to move us to public comment. Any members of the public wishing to speak to this agenda item, you have 3 minutes to do so. Seeing none. Do you want to cross-examine, Joy? No? All right. So I'm assuming you don't want to cross-examine yourself. Members of the decision-making body, do you have any questions? Same agenda item. This is just the quasi land change. Seeing none, Mr. Attorney, would you please advise decision-making bodies of law and factual findings?
Substantial and competent evidence standard.
Thank you, sir. We'll enter into deliberations. There are no deliberations. I'll have a motion.
Motion.
I have a motion from Commissioner Mazon, second from Commissioner Coleman. Comments, questions on the motion, floor from the dais. Public comments, questions on the motion on the floor. Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. That's going to take us to item 5. I'll remind you, we're still going to hold that quasi judicial. We're going to pause for a second. No, we're not. We're going straight to another quasi judicial. Okay, Mr. Attorney, would you please read on first reading ordinance 2024-37/LDR 24-25?
An ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida, relating to the rezoning of approximately 0.168 contiguous acres, more or less, pursuant to a petition by the property owner of said acreage, amending the official zoning atlas of the City of Newberry Land Development Regulations, providing for rezoning from Commercial Neighborhood CN zoning district to Commercial Central Business District C-CBD zoning district on certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Newberry, Florida. The tax parcel number is 02272-000-000, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2024-37 LDR 24-25 upon its first reading by title only.
Thank you, sir.
Sir.
Nobody realized that they want to speak to this and need to be sworn in. We got everybody. We've already done ex parte. Ms. Uma, take it away with the staff overview.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everybody. This is Uma Sarmishta, Community Development Department. I'm doing rezoning ordinance 2024-37, LDR 24-25, rezoning from commercial neighborhood to commercial central business district. And this is a straight zoning, but our applicant has gone ahead and discussed a few changes in there, and I have a copy for each one of you. There are some suggestions. I want to put that in record before I start.
Thank you.
So, okay, let me get back there. So, this is a straight zoning from commercial neighborhood to commercial central business district. Motion for recommendation is the City Commission adopt ordinance 2024-37, LDR 24-25. If forwarded, the City Commission second hearing will be to be held on November 25th, 2024 at 7 p.m. This is the parcel 02272-000-000. It's around 0.16 acre. The address is 22 Southwest 258th Street. Everybody know that property as Joel's Coffee Shop. Petitioner is Stephen Hedges from Hedges Eye Care, a very renowned eye care doctor from Jonesville. Current zoning is commercial neighborhood, and they, as directed by City Commissioner and staff and applicant, are working toward commission goal for rezoning all the parcels in downtown to CBD. So this is one part of that. So what is CBD? CBD intent that the district be applied to the area which forms city center or financial, commercial, government, professional, cultural, and associated activity. The intent of this district is to encourage development to this central business district to focal point of the community, which provides services to the people to live, work, and shop. And what can go better than the eye care? So this is our zoning brackets, how it goes. So we have commercial automated, which is like very intense. Then we have commercial intensive, and in between is the CBD, where we look into more services and around those. So overview, this is a proposed eye care and a coffee shop. So according to the proposed program, and again, this is just zoning right now, there will be a eye care facility with 4 exam treatment rooms with 2 doctors. There will be contact lens fitting place, laboratories. They will have new ADA restroom and full ADA accessible parking. There will be a coffee shop, and I think they are changing few part in there, and that's all there in the memo which the applicant just provided. These are some of the initial renderings, so they will still keep the one side of, but they will be extending it a little bit more to make it more spacious inside. CBD parking requirement as such with other permitted is not is none in our zoning ordinance. However, with their rendering, they have provided some spots, like they have in their initial rendering. They provided 6 parking spot inside with 1 ADA accessible, and we have some 8 parking around on Florida 26. And also the applicant have discussed with the Lions Club, and that's also there in the packet, and they have agreed to get the employee parking there. So overall, I think they have enough parking around for their property, and also they have, in the memo they have provided that they will have limited time for the coffee shop, and those things will be coming later when we are discussing about site plan, and it is in the historic district, so we will be having a HARB meeting too for this property, but this is just the rezoning right now. So as I said, there will be a development review later on during the site and development review where we will be talking about stormwater and parking and access. So overall, staff find the request consistent with the City of Newberry Comprehensive Plan and Land Development Regulation. I am here for any question, and so does the applicant is here, and they doesn't have any kind of presentation, but I think Danny want to talk a little about his ideas of, so is it okay if he just talk
Okay,
without
so
a presentation?
there's no formal presentation?
There's no formal presentation.
Okay, so we got the staff overview report and recommendation there. If you would come down, sir, and just introduce yourself and state for the record whether you have any objections to the staff report as Ms. Uman just delivered.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, City Commission. My name is Juan Daniel
You can
Garcia.
fix that mic a little bit.
I am an architect and a contractor agent for Hedges Eye Care in this matter. Yes, thank you, Uma, for presenting that very well. I just wanted to reemphasize, based on the, I'm sure the Commission has had a chance to see the P&Z meeting and the issues that came up, and as Ms. Uma mentioned, this is just a straight rezoning. We have difficulty actually putting the optometry on the property in a way that works for not just Hedges Eye Care, but for the community. The coffee shop was sort of a major distraction in the P&Z meeting. So I just wanted to offer 5 points related to the coffee shop. First of all, it's very small. The actual seating area will only allow for 13 occupants interior.
And that's eyeglass and coffee together, 13 occupants, or just?
No. That's coffee. The overall gross square footage of the coffee is less than 300 square feet. The seating area, because you got to take the kitchen out, you got to take the restroom out, the seating area will only allow for 13 occupants at 15 net square feet per occupant. There is also a very clear distinction between Hedges Eye Care and Jaber. The coffee shop will be called Jaber, as you saw in the handout. Very focused on slow, deep relationships over coffee. There's no Wi-Fi offered. It's not a place where you can go and camp out all day long and do your work. It's meant to have an excellent coffee, have a conversation with someone, and move along within the community. There's a clear distinction between the two. The expansion is for the purpose of Hedges Eye Care, not for the coffee shop. Dr. Stephen Hedges wanted to keep the coffee shop as a community element, and they believe they're offering a very different coffee shop model than is currently in town. Very community-focused, limited hours and seating. So actually the coffee shop will be open from 9 to 3 to begin with, and that's another point, is that they would like to have a phased expansion of the coffee shop when the twin-paired streets come into Newberry, when everything on Newberry Ave wants to go to CBD. So This is a rezoning that is just sort of ahead of its time because Hedges Eye Care wants to be in this community. Those are my 5 points, and I'm here for questions.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We're going to move to public comments. Don't go far away. Any members of the public wishing to speak to this agenda item, you have 3 minutes to do so. Okay, seeing none, we will come back. Did you hear anything from Ms. Umi that you want to cross-examine? No? Did you hear anything that you want to cross-examine? All right. Members of the Make Body, do you have any questions? Commissioner Farnsworth?
If this rezone is for the optometrist alone, is this rezoning required just for the optometrist?
It's not the, I think the CBD is as a city, we are planning to do most of the downtown district as CBD. That was one of the reason. And secondly, the parking requirement, which is not very intense for CBD right now. So that's why the whole idea of downtown CBD came with the guidance of commissioners to just change everything to CBD in the downtown district. So we are doing step by step, and as we get the one pair, we will be having more CBDs around downtown.
When were you given this guidance? Because I don't recall that occurring.
Mr. Mayor, I can't call a specific date. I would say it probably dates back about 2 years when we were talking about the twin pairs coming through, and it was going to double the properties facing State Road 26. The commission gave staff direction to rezone all of those properties wholesale to CBD at the appropriate time. We decided that 2 years ahead of construction wasn't the appropriate time, but our plan has been to just keep it in play until we're about at the point of beginning construction and then proceed. I envision that step one would be to just come back and ask the commission to whether they still want that to be the city's plan moving forward, that they're going to rezone both of those corridors from their current zoning to CBD. But that was what was discussed 2 to 3 years ago, and the last time we had an in-depth conversation about the Twin Pairs project.
If, I don't know if maybe if the clerk can find that somewhere, you can email that to me or something. Were the people in that neighborhood notified of the plan?
Yes.
Okay. And it doesn't seem to me that there's going to be nearly enough parking spaces if you have 2 optometrists, 13-seat coffee shop, and employees. So
that is the CBD requirement right now, and CBD requirement for other permitted or use, there is no parking requirement as such right now for us.
So if we change the zoning, they have no parking requirement?
In CBD, especially for these kind of services, we don't have parking requirement.
Okay.
And I think this was what the bulk of the P&Z ended up kind of stumbling over this point as well. So, and I remember 2 years ago talking about rezoning when the two-way pairs come through to commercial, specifically saying CBD. I don't have that in my memory. But you know, we have we have commercial business district, we have commercial intensive, we have commercial neighborhood. So, and then talking about the ramifications of that, I mean, I think that this applicant has compromised enough, and I believe, I'm sorry, sir, I forgot your name. What is? I believe he hit on, I think, a very important point where he said he's willing to do this, the applicant's willing to do this in phases to help the two-way pairs come through. Because when the two-way pairs come through, our downtown parking increases by 130%, right? Something in that range. And as he said it, right, this application is just a little bit ahead of its time. So I think that phasing, I think also the 9 a.m. start time is a big deal for me, because part of the problem with Joel's was the 7 to 7:45 traffic and everybody trying to go there. So if you're not selling coffee till 9, then that, Newberry's traffic problems exist in a 30-minute window every day, right? The rest of the day, we're pretty good, but that 30 minutes is pretty tough. So a 9 a.m. start time, that makes me feel a lot better. And then was there something also about the
Yeah, there
deck
was-
and the patio? And
Well, there was one more thing. I mean, the deck and the patio, we can easily throw that out the
In
window
a-
for now. We don't need
in
to
a
have
later phase.
exterior occupancy. That can come in when Newberry is more active, because of the twin pairs. But one point I wanted to mention, which is relevant to the point you brought up, Commissioner Farnsworth, is that currently the property is non-conforming with regard to parking requirements. Not only are there not enough spaces, but that's an awful parking lot.
Yeah.
So we're providing one more space, a proper ADA space, a proper ramp to both businesses. It's a real fix-up for the property.
Mhm.
And it's frankly, it's a big investment, and I think it's good for Newberry. But currently, the parking is non-conforming.
I just don't want to, be fielding phone calls from the neighbors where people are parking in their yard, and I mean, that was kind of the problem with Joel's when they were there. And this seems to be an increase in traffic and increase in the need of parking. So I don't know if this is the right time to go forward with this.
Understood. I completely understand about not wanting to field those phone calls. One item that the attorney actually brought up at the P&Z meeting, and this is very relevant to the way that they are going to do business between Hedges Eye Care and Jaber's Coffee, is that within an operating agreement or a legal lease structure, those things can be stipulated. Where they were not with Joel's, and parking was just kind of a wish list, hey, will you please try to keep people parking in the right place, or maybe consider changing whatever you said to that establishment. Hedges Eye Care is walking forward with both eyes open, pun intended, and they want to make sure that they are a good neighbor. So
I think another element of that, if you ever went to Joel's, there was one barista. That was it. And that barista had to make the coffee clean. There wasn't the opportunity for that barista to go out and catch somebody and say, hey, you can't park in a neighbor's yard. I think in this operation, you're going to have multiple doctors, you're going to have multiple staff, and you're going to have the coffee staff. So I think that they have much more incentive to make sure that the neighbors aren't going on social media. So, I mean, I think the P&Z was not off base to bring up these, and I think you're not off base, because this rezoning is about the parking, right? That's why we're rezoning it, right? Right now, it's non-conforming. It's a commercial neighborhood. They need a lot more spaces. We're here because we need the favor of not having to have those spaces. I think there's two conversations that need to happen here. One, this applicant is caught up in. We do need, as a commission, as a city, we need to talk to our staff about, is everyone rezoning to CBD? Is that really what we want? And if we are, and I probably think that is what we need to do, but we can't point anywhere to a public parking lot right now, right? The dock has the one back there shut down. We haven't worked out the deal with the First Baptist Church yet. We haven't worked out anything else. So, and at every visioning session we've been to in the last 6 months, Chambers raised their hand, Main Street's raised their hand, everyone, Caprice's raised their hand and said, the lack of parking is killing us, right? That's the main problem. So I think this applicant shouldn't be held up for that problem, but this board definitely needs to begin to address it in a very aggressive way. What are we going to do about downtown parking? Commissioner, we done, Commissioner?
If there's going to be an extra 120 parking spots, I would think that would kind of take care of the problem.
Yeah.
That's true.
Hang on. All right, he's got the floor, and then Commissioner Coleman.
120%.
120, right, that when the two-way pairs come through,
Right.
I think it will be less of a problem. The idea is, what do we do between now and 2 years from now, right? To your concerns.
I'm done.
Commissioner Coleman?
I agree. I mean, I don't think that should hold up someone that's wanting to bring business here to Newberry. I think that in the 2 year, he's got 2 years of heartache probably when it comes out, or we do, but I don't think it should stop. I think it's kind of different, here, drink your coffee while I put stuff in your eyes, but no, I don't think that should.
Well, and what I've heard is that their applicant is willing to phase so that we're kind of slowly,
Right.
slow into this. And that's what I would tell the residents around, because if we have a problem, I think the residents are going to call you guys up and be like, how do we get back here, right? And we're going to say, look, slow and surely, no Wi-Fi, we're not doing the deck, we're not inviting people to be here for 4 hours, right? Very small space, it's we're not doing big marketing, advertising, we're going to sell it, to our patients, right? We're going to sell it to our clients. It'll be there, but we're not pushing that aspect of it. Once the two-way pairs come through, once you guys designate a public parking lot, let's do it, right? Let's go all in. And I think that's all you can ask an applicant to do is recognize the problem and work with you. Commissioner Clark?
Mr. Mayor, wasn't there some discussion or somebody, the Lions Club is down in that area? Are they gonna allow the
They are. So they've already
applicant
worked.
to have some parking places?
They're going to let all the employees park at the Lions Club. So
Okay,
the
here you
6
go. I mean,
spots are
problem
all
solved,
for,
right?
And,
should be.
and the agreement is in the packet there
Yeah.
with the Lions Club, so.
So, I
So
mean,
that takes out 6.
takes away the overburden of the parking, and you got now, if I just heard, it was 6 spaces plus ADA? So, and an improved parking lot for just the people coming there. And there usually ain't that many probably waiting in line for that. So I'm just saying, I think to Commissioner Farnsworth's point, there is parking available with an agreement at the Lions Club, which is just a short walk around the block there. And the road's got parking and you got a brand-new upgraded parking lot.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Any other questions? Commissioner Faison?
Yeah, I think we're overthinking it, in my opinion. I have a couple questions. I think it's great. It's different. I think it's great. Now, you said 3 o'clock. Here it says 2 o'clock from 9 to 2.
Paper is correct, 9 to 2. Yes.
It's 9 to 2, not 9 to 3?
Yes, my apologies.
Okay. Good. No, you're fine. Will it only be coffee, or will they serve pastries?
So far, my understanding is coffee, espresso-based drinks.
Okay. And then will they have, is this just for only customers?
It's for only customers, and it's for the community.
Mhm.
I mean, we would want to encourage people walking over there, sit for 10 minutes with someone, have a conversation, have a coffee, move on.
And with the this is probably for Mike, or with that CBD zoning, will the city be obligated to put no parking signs on residents' yards to avoid parking?
We're not obligated to, but we often do things of that nature to cure a problem that we're having. I think in this instance, strategic use of curbing. I mean, typically in a downtown area, you have curb and gutter, and people don't park on the sidewalk because they have to jump the curb to get there. Newberry doesn't have curb and gutter on its side streets yet, but we have some funding available in the CRA and in our general government that it might be appropriate to go ahead and get some strategically placed curbing in to reduce the chances that people want to do those types of things.
Are you going to be open on the weekends? I know it says Monday through Friday, but just future maybe, possibility, no?
Probably not on Sunday.
Possibly Saturday?
Possibly Saturday, but probably not Sunday.
I think it's a great idea. I don't think we're going to have the traffic that people think we're going to have, to be honest with you. I've been in Gainesville
very
delivering.
small.
There's a lot of eyeglass places there with, it's not what people think it's going to be. I think it's a great idea. I embrace it.
Great.
Good job.
Wonderful, thank you.
Other questions? I don't disagree with Commissioner Mason. I think the residents around, they wanted to hear us have this conversation, and they want to hear these compromises, and I appreciate the applicant being willing to make. So when it comes to people who have lived through this problem, and they see they hear coffee house, I think that red flag goes up. So I appreciate having the conversation. I appreciate overthinking it a little bit to make sure that we've covered everybody's bases. And I appreciate the willingness to kind of work in a phasing so that we have a little bit of time so that as a dais, we can talk to our staff like, hey, what is the plan to get some of that? And we already are working on that. It's not like we're just going to be starting, but I think, it's time to get a little aggressive since the two-way pairs are still 2 years off and we got a lot of festivals and things happening. We want to encourage that. So that's going to move us. We've already had advice from the city attorney. Would you like to make a final argument, sir?
Thank you.
All right. Would you like to make a final argument, Ms. Uma? All right. We'll enter into deliberations. If there are no deliberations, I'll entertain a motion. I have a motion from Commissioner Coleman, second from Commissioner Mazon. Comments, questions on the motion on the floor for the dais? Public comments, questions on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. That's going to take us out of quasi for a minute. We're going to go back to legislative. Mr. Attorney, would you please read on second reading ordinance 2024-38/LDR 24-15 into the record?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. This is an ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida, establishing the Ranch Community Development District pursuant to Chapter 190 of the Florida statutes, providing for the district's external boundaries, providing for functions and powers of the district, providing for the initial Board of Supervisors of the district, addressing correction of scrivener's errors, providing for severability, and an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2024-38, LDR 24-50.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
John Paul, you going to take us through this one?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For the record, John Paul Perez with the Community Development Department. This is the second reading of the Ranch Community Development District. Before I get into the actual request, I wanted to query the board if you have any additional questions about community development districts before we get into the presentation. Yes, sir.
This isn't going to be a 23andMe thing, is it?
No,
Okay.
I
I just need to know how close I got to be thinking.
No, I mean, we're getting here. I want to know about the interlocal agreement.
That's a great question. So we've talked about it. Jennifer Kalinsky, who is the agent for this application, and she gave some examples where ILAs or interlocal agreements are utilized for CDDs. Typically, her explanation was in where there is a relationship between the local government and the district that is unique, above and beyond what is stated in Florida Statute 190 about the usual deliveries. It's included as a condition of approval as a clarification for some of those processes that are outlined in 190, but it is, and this is Jennifer's general suggestion, is that it's not necessarily required where those unique conditions don't exist. And in this particular instance, those unique conditions don't exist. Her example was Reedy Creek, and there's a lot of unique obligations between the two agencies that need to be outlined in an ILA. And if the commission feels it's not appropriate for either the Ranch Community Development District or Westone, sorry, I had a lot of coffee before the meeting, so my voice is a little shaky. It's not because I'm nervous, it's just caffeine induced.
Don't be nervous, man.
You're doing fine. Yeah.
Thank
You're
you.
doing great.
It's my first time up here, so. And so that is the scenario where an ILA would be appropriate. It's not necessarily appropriate for the two that you'll be hearing tonight for second reading. If the commission wishes to remove those conditions from the ordinance, we can do so.
Okay, well, my opinion is we need to
Okay.
strike that. I don't know about
Understood.
how the rest of the commission feels, but that's
Commissioner
where
Clark.
I'm at.
So in the development, just to be clear, the development agreement will cover 99.9 of anything we do
Yeah.
with the CDD and the development itself.
Correct. So for
So
the,
I'm in agreement that unless I think the red tape here is just another stack. And so I'm in
Certainly.
agreement to take this off, do the development agreement, let this thing go forward. And then if the developer needs to have a interlocal agreement that we need to do something with the city, then we come back together as partners and figure out what's best for both parties,
correct.
for me.
That sounds like a plan. Just for clarification, we have a development order in place with the approval of the land use and the zoning. Zoning specifically contains the development order for the ranch. We will be getting into the development agreement as we get into the phases for construction. So with the construction plans that are forthcoming, development agreement will come with those.
Okay, so right now, the interlocal agreement is written into the ordinance, or is it a separate agreement?
The ILA doesn't exist in the ordinance. It only, the ordinance directs.
Two.
Yeah,
So I've got two commissioners that are going to have to remember when it's time to make a motion, that needs to be part of making the motion. We got one commissioner stepped out, so we're going to have to review the reason behind that to make sure the other two commissioners know what that, and we don't need to do it now. We can go through the presentation, but when we get to that, let's revisit this topic because if we vote on the motion on the recommended, it's not going to include what you guys just talked about. Okay? With that, Jean-Paul, take it away.
excellent, thank you. The recommended motion is to adopt ordinance 2024-38. That should say on second reading. And what this accomplishes, it establishes the Community Development District. Just want to quickly fast forward through this and then go back. The next steps after it's adopted, it needs to go to the Florida Land and Water Adjudicatory Commission. Is that right? A lot of. No? Does that not need to occur anymore? Okay. Was that removed from Florida Statute 190?
That's a totally different process if you have a district that exceeds 2,500 acres.
Okay, awesome, thank you. Do you need Jennifer to come up and repeat that into the microphone?
We're not in quasi, but probably a good idea. So
Okay.
will you come on down and just say that for the record? But because everybody here who wants a CDD reacted very stringently against that comment, so.
Yes, for the record, Jennifer Kalinsky on behalf of the petitioner. Yes, the FLAWAC, the Florida Land and Water Adjudicatory Commission, is a totally different process under 190. It's only used for districts that exceed 2,500 acres. This one obviously does not, so that's why we're here before you. Otherwise, we'd be up in front of the governor and cabinet asking for a rule adopting that district.
All right, it's not a flaw whack. Did you follow that? No flaw whack. All right, I got it.
All right, so the owner of the property is NC Ranch Number 1 LLC. That is an LLC with Tripp named as the registered agent, Tripp Norfleet, Jennifer Kalinsky Esquire with Kalinsky Van Wyck, PLLC. The area is approximately 255 acres. This is the CDD area within the planned development. This is it against the phasing plan, so you can see where the CDD will occur. That's at the southwest corner of US 2741 and Northwest 46th Avenue. Here's just an overlay showing the different phases that are included in the CDD area, phase 1, a portion of phase 2, and a very small sliver of phase 3. This is the from the water and wastewater utilities map that was included in the CDD application, overlaid the CDD area and the phasing, so you can see some of the street design that's going in there. It's unique and should encourage people to stay inside their neighborhood if they can find their way out. A little bit more close up. And I just wanted to talk about the phasing plan that was included with the ranch plan development and some of the construction that could be included in this phase of the CDD as part of the phase 1 and phase 2 in the overall PD. And that includes in phase 1, 300 detached single-family residential units, senior adult housing also detached, 125 of those. And in phase 2, 350 detached single-family, 250 multifamily, and 125 assisted living facility beds. The total cost estimate is $47,707,000. These are the initial board members. The application was reviewed by city reviewing agencies. No objections were raised. Independent counsel was retained for the review of this for compliance with Florida statute. Alachua County Growth Management Department also reviewed and had no objections, and the property appraiser and supervisor of elections were notified. The district, as it relates to the PD master plan, represents those levels of development that we discussed just a moment ago. Again, the total estimate for this phase of the CDD would be $47 million. The initial 5 board members have been identified, and no objections to the application have been raised by internal and external agencies.
What was in there? 250, multifamily, okay.
Yeah, 250 multifamily, and possibly, it probably won't be in this phase, but 125 assisted living facility beds. Jerry Diedenbach, who's pretty intimately familiar with the plans, also in the audience, if you have additional questions about that. Extremely. It's, yeah, startling short.
Well, he gets the air before everybody else does, so it's pure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So just a reminder for all the members on the dais tonight, there is a general consensus that we'll be striking the ILA condition.
Well,
from
right
the
now it's
ordinance.
50-50. I don't want to make it sound like it's a done deal. So what John Paul is talking about is, while you stepped out, 2 commissioners had a conversation about getting rid of the interlocal agreement unless the developer brings it back, but not compelling that to happen inside the ordinance. In my mind, the interlocal confused the issue last time for me. It made me ask more questions, and I came to terms with this one. I can't remember who said it, but the thing I couldn't answer was tell me the difference between a good CDD and a bad one. And finally, somebody said, it's not about the CDD, it's about the development. If it's a good development, the development's going to succeed. That helped me a lot come to terms, because my mind was going all over the place, right, with this. So I think I have a better comprehension, and I appreciate everybody working with us to get us back up to speed on what this is. So, but I didn't want to put it like it was a done deal that we're striking that. That was a conversation, and right now it'd be 50-50 if you guys both agree with it. So anybody would want to continue that conversation, you guys want to reiterate your reasons for why you want to strike it, you're already good with it.
I thought she did a phenomenal presentation.
Okay. Commissioner Farnsworth, are you good with striking the interlocal? Okay. All right, so now you say it's general consensus. There we go.
General
Unanimous.
consensus has been established. Thank you,
All right.
Mr. Mayor. One condition that is remaining, and this is just a recital that's already in Florida Statute 190, is just clarifying that the city does not have any obligation to assume debt that is defaulted on by the district. So, staff finds it consistent with the land development regulations and comprehensive plan. No part of the proposed petition represents a negative impact on public interest. And again, our recommended motion is for adoption on second reading. Yes.
Okay,
That
do you have
concludes my
any-
presentation.
All right, do you have any questions for John Paul, or are we ready to entertain a motion?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion from Commissioner Clark, second from,
With
with,
the,
condition of striking.
the interlocal agreement out of it and let the rest.
do you second that motion?
I second
Okay, I have a motion, probably seconded on the floor. Any comments, questions on the motion floor from the dais? Public comments, questions on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, John Paul. Don't go anywhere.
For your service, I didn't see you lunch today.
He's not,
Sad I missed it, sir.
all right, Mr. Attorney, would you please read on second reading ordinance 2024-36/LDR 24-13 into the record?
This is an ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida, establishing the Whetstone Community Development District pursuant to Chapter 190 of the Florida statutes, providing for the district's external boundaries, providing for functions and the powers of the district, providing for the initial Board of Supervisors of the district, addressing correction of a scrivener's errors, providing for severability and effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2024-36, LDR 24-13, upon its reading by title only.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
John Paul, take it away.
Thank you,
Oh,
Mr.
I'm
Mayor.
sorry, hang on one second. Same objection?
Yes.
All right. So duly noted.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We'll have a long and lengthy conversation about it at the appropriate time. Go ahead.
For the record, John Paul Perez, Community Development Department, second reading of ordinance 2024-36. This is ordinance to establish the Whetstone Community Development District. Staff's recommended motion is to adopt the ordinance. The action that will result of the adoption is the establishment of the Whetstone Community Development District. This one was continued at the October 28th hearing. Just want to make note of that, and we're here tonight for the second reading. This is the location of the West-owned development, generally at the intersection of 15th Avenue and County Road 337. It exists on both sides of the road. Phase 1 will be on the east side. Has our ownership of the land has already transferred to M3, so we assume that that one will be coming in first, so we'll be seeing that. And this is the Community Development District boundary. It's a bit different from what was approved as the planned residential development. It excludes areas that are in conflict because of environmental issues that have arisen and code compliance issues that have arisen. So as those are worked out, the M3 development has removed those areas that are complicating the development for moving forward from the project. And we thought that was pretty gracious because that's ultimately profit that he's giving up by not developing on those areas.
John Paul, once they clear up the air, will they be able to add it back to the plan?
So we had a pretty lengthy meeting today, and I don't know if I'd maybe ask the city manager to chime in about the meeting with the Alachua County Environmental Protection Department today and potential for those areas that are affected by the old cleanup sites being utilized for development in the future is likely nil. Does that sound about correct?
I mean, I would say my take on the meeting is that we discussed with Alachua County that where they have regulatory authority, that they should exercise that directly with the applicant, just like DEP or DOT or any other regulatory agency, and where they want to make comments to the city for consideration by staff and the boards before they make decisions, that we need to discern between directives. This is a thou shall, we're saying it in a regulatory capacity, and this is a recommendation because you've asked for our input and we have expertise in these areas. So I think that they had, was it 4 or 5?
It actually is whittled down to 3. Number 4 was regarding the code case with the county, and yeah.
And all of their comments had already been taken into account both by staff and by the developer. So things like don't build the retention basin over the previously contaminated areas, those had already been moved. Recommendation that everybody connect to the city's water system versus putting in a private well had already occurred. And frankly, some of the development, some of the contaminated areas had been pulled out of the areas that were considered for development. They're still within the PD, but they won't be developed. They're going to be left in a natural state. So I think that the county had a couple of issues that they felt were more regulatory in nature. They're going to pursue those with the developer. They will keep us abreast. But I think it's just like DEP requires stormwater permitting. The Water Management District requires stormwater permitting, and we notify the developers of that requirement, but we don't try to enforce that that requirement through this board. So I think we got that clarified very well. They've asked for contact information. I think their biggest concern had to do with illegal dumping, and that's a code enforcement case, and they were pursuing that, not us, because of some regulations they have that we don't. And I think what I heard them say was they were going to continue to pursue that. And I think they're doing it with the original property owner, not the current developer, but those areas have been removed from consideration from this development. So I felt like it was positive and provided some clarification. There'll be an email coming to the commission. At the last time you met to discuss this, we promised that we would meet with county staff and then we would notify you of those findings. Unfortunately, that meeting was today, so we haven't transmitted that correspondence to you. But it was all moving in the direction that I believe the board would feel that it should.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Manager New. This is the boundary of the planned residential development. This is the CDD boundary showing you those areas that were excluded from the overall. The estimated budget for the CDD is $32,600,000. I'll skip past this one, but this, I think, initially some of the conversations, there was concern about the actual cost per household being too much of a burden for the individual homeowners. These calculations don't account for any sort of interest or as it amortizes over 30 years. But the actual relevant cost to each homeowner will be the equivalent of like a second HOA fee that they would need to pay. It's not that great of a burden. Additionally, the most recent U.S. Census job reports shows that the median household income for the city of Newberry is in the $90,000 range, and that exceeds the national median household income average by about $10,000. And so a lot of the residents that are moving to Newberry have a greater source of income than most of the nation. So assuming costs like that would be manageable for those households. These are the initial 5 board.
Commissioner Clark?
Bless you.
He skipped over that one too fast.
Oh, got you. Awesome. So initial 5 board members.
It's an
I guess all of
M3.
them.
Now it's an M4. All right.
The application was reviewed by internal, external city agencies, or local agencies. Also, the property appraiser and supervisor of elections were noticed, and Alachua County Growth Management Department had no objections to the petition. Again, just going back to the CDD boundaries and some of the surrounding properties, you can see there's a lot of Alachua County in the area, just reinforcing there no objection there, even with properties directly abutting the district. Staff finds the request consistent with the comprehensive plan land development regulations. Just another statement about the financial aspect of it, but there is public disclosure statements that the owners, when they're, or purchasers, when they're engaging, do need to acknowledge that they've read and whatnot. No part of the petition represents a negative impact on public interest, as far as we can tell. The city shares an obligation for ensuring compliance with the statute and district. This is the opportunity where, once we make the motion, we're going to strike the ILA, and we'll keep that second condition regarding the recital of the city not assuming debt that's defaulted on by the district. And just closing my presentation with our recommended motion, I'm available for any questions.
Okay, thank you, John Paul. Questions for staff? Questions for the applicant? No? Have we beat this horse to death?
We beat it to death.
All right. I'll
Motion to approve.
have a motion from Commissioner Clark with
The ILA or the interlocal agreement coming out from the debt, I don't know what you put in there, but without the red tape of the interlocal agreement.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Coleman with the same strike. Questions on the motion on the floor from the dais? Okay, public comments or questions on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Now for the next agenda item, fellas, we're gonna have to take 4 separate motions, but they all fall under the FDOT twin pairs subordination agreements. So, Mr. Attorney, would you please read Resolution 2024-54, and I guess BSD fee simple is part of the title, into the record for us?
Happy to do so. These aren't our typical format of these
Mr.
since they're
Attorney,
DOT.
if I could, I might could provide a little clarity on the
Sure.
4 of them before he reads them in.
All right.
Bear with me.
We always like clarity.
So, the item stated is subordination agreements for the State Road 26 Twin Pairs project. And what we're asking the board to do is consider and approve 4 resolutions supporting the execution of these subordination agreements with FDOT and the City of Newberry to facilitate the Twin Pairs construction, and authorize the mayor and/or city manager to execute all documents associated with that process. So the one that the attorney is fixing to read, Resolution 2024-54, is basically a fee simple where you're conveying right away on First Avenue and approaches on the side street to FDOT. And the fee is the improvements that has been negotiated with FDOT for the Ladder Street improvements and some of the utility work and whatnot. So that kind of lays the foundation to that, and when you get to the others, I can do that as well.
Jamie, on this one, it has a consideration shall be blank. Is not applicable?
Not applicable.
Okay. And, Mr. Mayor, with that, I'll go ahead and read the resolution. Resolution 2024-54. There's a commissioner that's going to make the motion, seconded by the commissioner, which will be recorded in the resolution. The following resolution was adopted, whereas the State of Florida Department of Transportation proposes to construct or improve State Road number 26, section number 26070, FP number 2078502 in Alachua County, Florida. All of the resolutions have that exact same description. I'm not going to read that 4 times over, Mr. Mayor.
Agreed.
Not necessary. Whereas the necessary of certain lands now owned by the city of Newberry be acquired by the State of Florida Department of Transportation, said property is not needed for city purposes. The State of Florida Department of Transportation has made application to city to execute and deliver to the State of Florida Department of Transportation a deed or deeds in favor of the State of Florida Department of Transportation, conveying all rights, title, and interests that the city has in said lands required for transportation purposes, and said request having been duly considered. Therefore, it is resolved by the Board of Commissioners of the City of Newberry, Florida, that the application of the State of Florida Department of Transportation for a deed or deeds for transportation purposes, which is the public or community interest and for the public welfare and the land needed for the transportation purposes is not needed for city purposes, and a deed or deeds in favor of the State of Florida Department of Transportation conveying all right, title, and interest of the City of Newberry, Florida in and to said lands should be drawn and executed by the Board of City Commissioners. Consideration shall be not applicable. Therefore, is resolved, the certified copy of this resolution will be forwarded to the State of Florida Department of Transportation at Lake City, Florida. And signature for yourself, Jordan Marlowe, our mayor, and is tested by Judy Rice, our city clerk, and approved by myself as to form and legality. The appropriate motion is pass Resolution 2024-54 as read by its entirety.
Thank you, sir. Anything else, Jamie, you want us to know about this resolution?
So what will happen if the commission approves these resolutions is we'll basically set up a closing date for the city manager and or mayor with a right-of-way agent from the FDOT who will have you sign a Sears and Roebuck catalog full of documents for all this.
I think it should just be the manager.
You were there for part of it when the right-of-way agent was trying to explain it. Some of these pieces of property aren't 10 foot by 10 foot, but it's a requirement by state law to go through this to get the land rights for the DOT.
All right. Any questions for Jamie? All right, I'll have a motion for Resolution 2024-54.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Clark, a second from Commissioner Farnsworth. Y'all sound a lot alike over here. Comments, question on the motion on the floor? You made the motion? Motion from Commissioner Farnsworth, second from Commissioner Maison. Thank you. Comments, question on the motion on the floor from the dais? Public comments, question on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Jamie, you want to tell us anything about Resolution 2024-55 before I ask?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Resolution 2024-55 is actually a temporary construction easement for one parcel, and there is a fee tied to that. It's the segment of right-of-way of Northwest 254th Street adjacent to Berry Park. And the DOT is going to compensate you $1,600 for letting them have that temporary construction easement.
All right. Thank you, sir. Mr. Attorney, would you please?
That's over the course of the construction.
To make life,
Resolution 2024-55.
to make life easy on Judy, since she's got to fill in the movement and the second, why don't we keep suit with the same
Okay,
person?
so Commissioner Farnsworth, you're going to make motions on all of these. Commissioner Maison, you're going to make seconds on all of these. Agreed? All right.
All right, perfect.
I
So
like it.
the initial motion, we won't read again. The first whereas clause is exactly the same as the one I just mentioned, so we won't read that one again. It's necessary certain lands now owned by the city of Newberry, Florida, be used temporarily by the state of Florida Department of Transportation. Best interest of the city to do so. State of Florida Department of Transportation has made application to said city to execute and deliver to the state of Florida Department of Transportation a temporary construction easement or easements in favor of the state of Florida Department of Transportation for purposes of driveway reconstruction and harmonization, and said request having been duly considered. It is now therefore resolved by the Board of City Commissioners of the City of Newberry, Florida, that the application of the State of Florida Department of Transportation for temporary easement or easements is for transportation purposes which are in the public or community interest and for public welfare, that a temporary easement or easements in favor of the State of Florida Department of Transportation in Lake City, Florida should be drawn and executed by this Board of City Commissioners. Consideration shall be, did you say $1,600? Jim?
Yes, sir.
$1,600. Be it further resolved that the certified copy of this resolution be forwarded forthwith to the State of Florida Department of Transportation at Lake City, Florida. Signature for our mayor, Jordan Marlowe, attested by Judy Rice, our city clerk, and approved by myself as to form and legality. The appropriate motion is passed. Resolution 2024-55 is read by its entirety.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Farnsworth, you make that motion? Commissioner Maison, you second it?
Sure do.
Comments, questions, motion on the floor from the dais? Public comments, questions on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Jeremy, you got anything you want to tell us about 2024-56 before we read it into the record?
Yes, this is 15 parcels for temporary construction easements, no compensation. It's just to facilitate the construction, and it'll be restored back to the same condition when they're done, so.
All right. Mr. Attorney, would you please read Resolution 2024-56 into the record?
Yes, sir. Motion will be the same, and parcel proposed construction improvement identification is the same. It is necessary for certain lands now owned by the city of Newberry, Florida, to be used temporarily by the State of Florida Department of Transportation. Best interest of the city, State of Florida Department of Transportation has made application to said city to execute and deliver to the State of Florida Department of Transportation a temporary construction easement or easements in favor of the State of Florida Department of Transportation for the purposes of construction, access, and maintenance of roadway construction, access, and maintenance of roadway and driveway reconstruction, construction, access, and maintenance of turnout curb return, turnout curb return reconstruction, widening, milling, and resurfacing, signing, and pavement markings. General roadway improvements, including clearing, drainage, grading, milling, resurface, asphalt paving, signing, striping, and signalization, and driveway, parking and paving, and said requests having been duly considered. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Commission of the City of Newberry, Florida, that the application of the State of Florida Department of Transportation for temporary easement or easements is for transportation purposes which are in the public or community interest and for public welfare. That a temporary easement or easements in favor of the State of Florida Department of Transportation in Lake City should be drawn and executed by the Board of City Commissioners. Consideration shall be not applicable on this one, Jim.
Yes, sir.
Be it further resolved that a certified copy of this resolution be forwarded forthwith to the State of Florida Department of Transportation in Lake City, Florida. Signature for our mayor, Jordan Marlowe, attested by Judy S. Rice, our city clerk, and approved by myself as to form and legality. Appropriate motion is pass Resolution 2024-56 upon its reading by its entirety.
As bad as I feel for you having to read that, Scott, I feel even worse for whoever had to write it.
And folks think that we have bureaucracy and red tape.
All right, anything else you want us to know about this one for
No,
Commissioner
sir.
Farnsworth? Can you make the motion? Commissioner Maison seconds the motion. Comments, question, motion on the floor from the dais. Public comments, question, motion on the floor. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously. Jamie, tell us about the perpetual easement before we read the resolution. Give Scott a moment to take a break.
Yeah, this is 2024-58. It is for perpetual utility easements where they will actually be constructing improvements in city right-of-way, i.e. curbs, pipes, whatnot, to facilitate storm.
All right. Mr. Attorney?
Mr. Mayor, same movements and seconding on this one. The identification of the project is as stated earlier with the prior resolutions. It is necessary that an easement across certain lands now owned by the city of Newberry, Florida be acquired by the State of Florida Department of Transportation. It is in the best interest of the city. The State of Florida Department of Transportation has made application to said city to execute and deliver to the State of Florida Department of Transportation a perpetual easement or easements in favor of the State of Florida Department of Transportation for the purpose of construction, access, and maintenance of a drainage pipe to the proposed pond and tying in, conforming, harmonizing, and/or reconstructing existing grade, slope, pavement, drainage, utility, driveway, walkout, turnout, and/or other features located on or within the real property described below, with the construction undertaken by the department on adjacent State Road number 26 as part of the above-referenced financial project collectively known as reconnection work, together with related incidental purposes necessary to complete the reconnection work, and said request having been duly considered. It is now therefore be it resolved by the City Commission of the City of Newberry, Florida, that the application of the State of Florida Department of Transportation for a perpetual easement or easements is for the transportation purposes which are in the public or community interest and public welfare, that a perpetual easement or easements in favor of the State of Florida Department of Transportation in Lake City, Florida, should be drawn and executed by this Board of City Commissioners. Consideration shall be not applicable. Be it further resolved that a certified copy of this resolution shall be forwarded forthwith to the State of Florida Department of Transportation at Lake City, Florida. Signature for yourself, Jordan Marlowe, our mayor, and attested by Judy S. Rice, our city clerk, and approved by myself as to form and legality. Purpose motion is to pass resolution 2024-58 as read by its entirety.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Farnsworth? Commissioner Mazon? Seconded. Comments, questions on the motion on the floor of the dais? Public comments, questions on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Jamie. We appreciate all that. Any final comments?
There will be another batch of these in January that's much larger. The one good thing about that is it indicates that your Twin Pairs project is moving forward.
I agree. Guys, I'm going to ask that we go ahead and table item 9. I know that only one commissioner has had a chance to fully have those conversations. Everyone else is still in some stage of working on it. I should have asked for that before we approved the agenda. We are coming up on a time crunch, though. We need to plug in what's going on with our charter officer. So next time, time certain, right, we'll bring back these charter officer annual evaluations. Agreed? And the email that you got does have a drop-down menu. You can fill it out digitally. You can print it off, fill it out, drop it by. Easiest is to go and drop it straight to Ms. Tracy. If for whatever reason that didn't work, I'm happy to come pick it up and be the conduit to get them all in. But by next November 25th, we definitely need to go ahead and have this wrapped up, finished. All right? Can I have a motion to the table? Motion by Commissioner Coleman, second by Commissioner Mazon. Comments, questions, motion on the floor of the dais. Public comments, questions, motion on the floor. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passed unanimously. That's going to take us to comments, citizens. We'd like to hear your comments first. You've waited all night long. Any citizen comment? You got 5 minutes. Tell us what's going on. Tell us what you're doing. Tell us about Merry Christmas, Happy Thanksgiving, any of that kind of stuff. Yeah, I knew we'd get one. Come on down. Christmas on the Square?
Yeah, Christmas on the Square is coming. I don't know when it's coming. When's it coming? 21st.
That's a great day for Christmas on the Square. 6 p.m.
Hey, I just wanted to say first, thank you guys for, Trip North Fleet. I wanted to thank the commission for approving the CDD, man. I really appreciate that. I think it'll help us bring a really nice project in Newberry, I think with the amenities on. The other thing I wanted to talk about is, I know we've been hearing about the sewer issues and all that, and I really feel like we need some open dialogue, maybe some, workshops or some committees. And, I got one project, Cutchway South, there's like 32 lots, and that thing's been held up since about August. And I know a couple of other phases have gotten approved. And mine was supposedly getting held up to figure out whether they're going to do the sewer. But, I mean, this thing, I want to see what's going on. I just wanted to bring it y'all's attention. And there's a lot of confusion about the sewer deal. But I was just kind of looking back on some of the agenda items where a couple of them was approved in August. Didn't seem like the sewer deal. And I might not know the whole facts on that, but I think, when we don't know, we need to know what's going on this deal. And any way y'all can make that a little more, like I said, I hear y'all talking about we starting off at 25 million and 40 million, and I heard 90 million, and I just want y'all to be real careful. We're going to end up with an anchor around our neck if we're not careful. I mean, I think Newberry's finally ready to go, and we just don't want to get Newberry's own biomass plant over here to mess us all up, So I'd encourage y'all, like I said, and like I said, I don't know what's going on my Country South phases, but it seems like some of the others have been moved forward and sewer hadn't been a concern. And maybe I don't understand the whole deal, and that's the reason I'd sure like to maybe figure out what's happening with us on the sewer. And I think y'all are waiting on a deal on a grant, maybe in December or something, to see if y'all got it, but I'd sure appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Yes, sir. And other citizen comment? Mike, in your comments, can you address, because I know that we are working on a developers meeting to talk about all of those things. If you can give us an update on when that, yeah. So let's go ahead and start. City manager, comments?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I will start with that. The city's wastewater plant, as you know, we've been underway on this project for at least 5 years. Our bank is the state of Florida through the State Revolving Fund Program, and they, like any bank, they have a whole list of things you have to do. Starts with developing a facilities plan, and we completed that a couple years ago. And once you get the facilities plan completed and submitted to them and approved by them, they'll let you move into design. And we moved into design phase. We've completed the design phase. We have complete design in hand. We have, and we are sitting on 99% documents to go to bid. And we can't just go to bid when we want to. We have to get the state of Florida to the bank to approve when we go to bid. And we sought to be on an August hearing, and they reported to us that we're not going to put you on the August hearing. You don't have, your financial plan doesn't hold water. The way we've always financed wastewater plants is no longer acceptable to the state of Florida. They changed the game on us, and so we are developing a new financial plan. And so we weren't on the August hearing. We are not on the December hearing. We are planned to be on the February hearing. And between August and now, we have been working on one thing, coming up with a financial plan that would be appealing to the state of Florida. They have to approve it. We've been working on a developers agreement for more than 60 days. It is in its final rounds of draft mode. Essentially, the development community, and you saw a presentation on it, is going to pledge to buy capacity in the wastewater plant so that we can give FDEP assurances that we will have the fund to make our loan payments each year. So we anticipate that once the attorneys, not the city attorney, the attorneys that we hired to do this, once they're through with the document and DEP blesses it, since they're the ones that said you have to do it, then we're going to sit down with the developers and explain to them how this will work. But essentially it is you'll prepay for capacity and you'll get guaranteed capacity in a wastewater plant, and we'll take those agreements to the DEP and they'll say you're approved for funding at their February hearing. Once they say you're approved for funding, that means we can go to bid. And we plan to go to bid hopefully in March or April. Our current construction estimates are around $65 million. which, as we've reported to you numerous times, is 3 to 4 times higher than it was when we started this initiative back in 2020. The reasons that we started out as about a $22 to $25 million plant, and then DEP, the permitting side of DEP, said there are new state regulations out there. You have to treat your wastewater to a higher level of treatment. You have to remove nutrients, and you have to do something different with biosolids. So we didn't have any options in that. It was a mandate from the Florida legislature. So we added those processes, but that doubled the price. Just simply doing that, the cost went from $22 million-ish to $45-ish million. And then the rest of the increase came from a little capacity that we added for Archer, but they're paying for that. So, but you know, that's about a $10 million add, just what we've added for Archer. And the rest of it is supply chain and whatever happened to rational pricing associated with COVID. I've never, in a 38-year period of building wastewater plants, this is all I've done my whole career, never seen prices escalate like this. This is 25% a year cost increase. We normally count on 2 to 3%. I can't fix that. I don't know how to fix it. I know that Jamie has asked every contractor in the southeastern United States to look at this and bid on it so that we get competitive pricing. Because one thing we do see in the market is there are fewer people that build these wastewater plants now than there were 10, 15 years ago. So as competition goes down, prices go up. So Jamie has beat the bushes to find out who all else is out there that can that will look at this thing and get us competitive pricing. We welcome input as to how it could be done less expensive. That's a daily and a weekly exercise at City Hall, is what could we do different and better to bring the cost down or to keep it moving along. And aside from going to a different bank, if we went to a different lender, we could move this thing along a little bit quicker. But the interest rates would go from sub 1, our current interest rate is something less than 1%, up to the market, which is 4.5% or 5%. It's what you paid for City Hall. That will triple the cost over a 30-year mortgage, the cost of interest. So we haven't brought that to the commission for consideration because, you know, on a 30-year note, instead of paying on in a $60 million project, instead of paying $12 million in interest, we would probably pay close to $48 million in interest. But that, like I said, if we want to have workshops and get folks to come in and explain better ways to do this, we are wide open. Explain ways to accelerate it, we are wide open. But as far as we know, this is the only path that there is for this whole thing. We have met with the Secretary of DEP, and they have indicated to us this is the only path that we can see moving forward for Newberry.
Trip, Mike, I think that
we've been taking it.
the workshop that Tripp is talking about is about all those different, because when we talked about the developers agreements, there were going to be 2 or 3 options of how you go forward and how you pre-buy that capacity and those kinds of things. So if we're looking to go back to Tallahassee in February, March, we're with those agreements. When are we having that workshop?
Those agreements are currently being evaluated by DEP to get a blessing.
So is that December or is that January that we get all of our developers?
Mr. Mayor, I anticipate it this week or next.
Oh, okay.
But I also, 3 weeks ago, I anticipated it this week or next.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's a little bit of a waiting game. And as soon as we get it back from DEP, we're going to schedule those. So I anticipate that will happen before December the 1st. But again, we're waiting on other people. And
that's always frustrating.
And that, you know, it's just all that we can do.
I mean, I've heard the same. People call me up and say, well, you're not going to do it. Rumors of apocalypse. You know, to the cost, I was very gratified because I think we had some local people that ran the apples to apples, and they quoted $75 million, and Jamie's already got us down to $65 million.
Agree.
So that means that we're going better, and we're going in the right direction here. on that question of the construction cost. So if somebody that I know and trust looks at it and says, yeah, this will cost 75, and we've already getting it down to 65, I think we're doing a good job there. Yeah, you still had time left. I just want to make sure that was the workshop that you were asking about.
Yeah, it was, and I'm not saying need to speed up the sewer plant. I'm not saying I think they need to keep the lower rate, the whole deal and all that. I was just saying, this one project I got, it's only 32 lots, an extension of Old Country Way. I don't see why it's been held up when like Phase 4 of Avalon got approved in August.
And that one I was going to,
and there may be something else to it. The second thing is, y'all did your Veterans Memorial, and y'all had a little committee that helped get that price down. Would y'all get it down from 9 to 5? And like you said, I know nothing about a sewer plant. Don't know anything about it. And I mean, Mike's good at it, and Jamie's good at it. But it's always good to put some different eyes and help on the deal. So I don't think we need to speed up the process to get the sewer plant. I just want to get released on my Countryway South lots.
Well, do we know the
Mr.
answer
Mayor,
to that question?
specifically to that,
And that's just what
we keep a running tally of how much available capacity we have at the treatment plant.
Right.
And when we hit zero, we quit putting them on the agenda because we knew that we can't offer people capacity that we don't have. So anything that got approved before now, in the last 4 months, we were using up the last of the available capacity at that treatment plant. Every month during the first week, we get an email from the building department that says, here's the building permits that got issued and here's the COs that got issued. And we put that into a spreadsheet and it shows how many gallons of capacity we have this month. And we hit zero, I think around October the 1st, September the 1st.
Did that? I think John Paul might be going to weigh in on that. Can you answer that question specifically now? Or, I mean, you guys can always have a phone call tomorrow, but if you can tell an answer now, that.
Yeah, I just want to provide a clarification about Avalon Woods and the Phase 2 of Countryway South. So Avalon Woods Phase 4A was approved earlier in the year. Avalon Woods Phase 4B was approved. Since a portion of 4 was already approved, we felt it inappropriate to withhold 4B and advised the McDaniels that we'd address the wastewater capacity at Phase 5, which they're withholding the application at this point, I understand. Regarding Countryway South Phase 2, the developers agreement originally was discovered to be expired. There was an amendment that was found that actually showed that it was actually still in good standing, and that's essentially it for Phase 2 of Countryway South. And
I lost you a little. Is that good news for the question or bad news for the question?
Do we have capacity to move it forward today?
We found an amendment that says we're still in good standing, so that sounded like good news to me.
Just for clarity, that was to Mr. Norfleet's statement about the fact that there have been some projects approved since he originally submitted. Now that they've determined that his project is in good standing with the development order and agreement, we actually provided construction plan comments back to his engineer for him to revise and submit to us. As the city manager stated, we have actual daily flows and we have outstanding flow commitments. The actual daily flows go up and down. When you go to apply for a DEP construction permit for wastewater extension, you have to identify those two numbers. As the daily flows go down and outstanding flow commitments are committed or converted to COs, you basically have a little bit of float in your capacity. As far as how many gallons of capacity we have today, I cannot state that off the top of my head. Does that change on a monthly basis? Yes. But we had actually got to the point that we had run totally out of capacity as September, October, and his project was assumed to be expired. We determined that was an error on the city's part, and we corrected that. That's the reason we have responded to his construction plan approval.
Jamie, while we got you here, did the RV park has that expired yet? Can we bring that capacity back in?
The RV park had a special exception that had expired, and we brought that capacity back in.
Because that was a lot, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So
All right, so it sounds like, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole. Sounds like Tripp, Jamie, you guys have a phone call tomorrow and figure this out. I think I heard good news in there, but I don't want us to be here all night, right? Because now this is an agenda item, this is public comment. It sounds like this needs to be more of a one-on-one conversation, and the attorney's coming up, and that doesn't sound like public comment to me. That sounds like we're going into an agenda item.
Well, no,
Yeah.
and I don't need to. We just need to clarify if plans get commented on, are we going to get permits, or are we shut down because of capacity? We just needed to clarify.
It sounds like that needs to be a phone call tomorrow. We commit to make a phone call and have that question tomorrow?
Yeah, because we've not been able to get answers, and I'm the one that found the extensions on the development orders.
And I just don't, it's getting late, and I don't know, nobody has done any research on this. Jamie sounds like he pretty well knows it, but it sounds like tomorrow we'll have a phone call and we'll get progress, and if we don't, we'll bring it back up next meeting. Sound good? Resolution? For tonight? All right.
And we'll be happy to discuss it at the next meeting. If we don't find resolution,
Yeah.
we'll agenda it and let the commission figure it out.
All right, that sounds good. We're still on city manager comments. Was that
Concludes
the?
my comments, Mr.
That
Mayor.
concludes, okay. Mr. Attorney?
Well, just to add to that, I think that listening to this discussion reminds me when I started here a little over 40, maybe about 43 years ago, and the commissioners at the time elected to do something transformational for the city and install a water and wastewater program for the city. And it is my firm belief this is why the city of Newberry is positioned in the place they're in right now to not only do a lot for their community, but also be a leader in western Alachua County to continue the development in a very, very environmentally sound way with the advanced wastewater treatment plan that is coming forward. It's difficult decisions when you're talking about the kind of money that you're talking about, but it was also extremely difficult back 43 years ago when the city was making a like jump and deciding to go forward with those plans back then. But the grandchildren that will be had will see the benefit of the decision that you're making right now. So it's transformational, just like it was 43 years ago. December 18th is our ethics training date. Come on, we promise you a little bit of fun, something to eat and drink, and some camaraderie with other local government officials. So we hope you can make it to the law firm, and Kirsten and Danielle always put on a good show. So
They do.
That's all I had.
But I did notice that the promise of ribs has been reduced to the promise of something to eat. So it didn't go unnoticed.
I'm going to text everybody right now. Ribs is on the menu.
Madam Clerk? All right. Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Coleman?
First thing real quick, Pete Hegseth, I don't know if y'all know him, but he is now going to be our Secretary of Defense. And if y'all know him, if you don't, look it up. I think that's great. Pete got it. Yep.
Sounds like he doesn't think it's so good. All right. Yeah, that's a conversation for you guys to have after the meeting. Yeah.
How's that? The second thing is probably to Mike is, how is this going to affect our wastewater stuff when it comes to Archer now being bankrupt? Was the money put off to the side and that's not part of it being bankrupt? But it's got me like, what are we gonna do here? If the money's not there, what are we gonna do?
Well, if in response to that, Archer's not planning to pay for their capacity through money they have in savings, just like Newberry's not going to build a wastewater plant. They're using the same bank we are. So if the same bank we are will give them the $10 million they need, we move forward with construction of a wastewater treatment plant as planned. If the same bank says, nope, Archer, you're not going to make it, we're not going to fund you, then we will have a choice to make. We can either build their capacity and use it as ours, but we'd have to come up with an additional $10 million, or we ask for the design team, spend a little money and get the design team to pull their capacity out, and we'll bid it as not a 1.2 MGD plant, but a 1.025 MGD treatment plant. But it won't have a significant impact on us one way or the other.
And we met with Archer today about that very conversation, and Newberry has been very helpful to the city of Archer. But this was why this concept was so beneficial for that community, because we have the ability to navigate these waters. We have the ability to run this plant, and they need a little bit of help on a lot of fronts, right? And I understand their meeting is going on right now. But I do think we've got good contingency plans in either way, right? And it was made very clear today that we're not going to slow down to let them catch up. We have our own timeline. We have our own developers that need it, right? If they can do it, I think we still are stronger together when we go to Tallahassee, right? When we're asking for money, it's not asking for money for just Newberry. It's two communities, and right now they're leaning on us when it comes to the expertise of that. So, but we keep control of that because we do have the experts who can manage it. So,
That's all I got.
Commissioner Clark?
Well, let me just say, Sunday was a great day in America. It was the Marine Corps birthday. So we celebrated the Marine Corps birthday Sunday and
You had a lot of
Veterans Day.
sweet
Thanks
tea?
to all the veterans. That was yesterday. But we got through that too. Thank the city for their luncheon today with the city veterans that were here. John Paul, we missed you. And other than that, I just say pray for Israel and for all the troops that are deployed.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Farnsworth?
Yeah, I too want to be sure we thank our veterans and all they've done for us and kept our country free. I just have one trivia question.
All right.
It's
on the spot here.
On the spot again. What mammal has a fingerprint so close to the human being that it has been sometimes confused to be a human at a crime scene?
I want to hear Janine's answer to this.
I don't know, I don't know nothing about no.
What mammal has a fingerprint so close to human that it can get confusing? So it's a mammal that goes to crime scenes.
It's a koala bear.
A koala bear. What's a koala bear doing at a crime scene?
Well, you know,
I thought they were
somebody might break into a,
I'm gonna use that
they
if
might
I ever
break
get
into a
accused. It
zoo
wasn't
or
me as a
something.
koala bear.
They might break into a zoo.
Yes,
And
very
say, "Look
good.
at there."
That's pretty good. Commissioner Mazon?
Absolutely. All right, good deal. All right, so I have a couple things. Downtown Main Street, they have their fall festival this weekend, 16th on Saturday, from 3 p.m. to,
From 9 to.
From 9 to 4, my bad. From 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. I kind of actually, you're going to have vendors, food, and fun. So please show up this weekend. And then we have the Concerned Citizens. That's, they're welcoming the community to the community Thanksgiving meal that they host over at MLK, which is at 25515 Northwest 6th Ave, Newberry, Florida. That's from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. And that's going to be on Sunday. So you have the Fall Festival on the Saturday on the 16th, and then on the 17th you have the Thanksgiving meal. Unlike you, buddy, I don't have trivia, but I do have dad jokes for you. So, what did the carpenter say? You're fine. What did the carpenter say after he built? This is in lieu of all the development talk. After he finished building his house. Nailed it.
I was just 1 second. 1 second.
1 second.
I appreciate that. Weather this weekend be down into the 40s. Supposed to be 75 as high on Saturday, so please come out to that to the festival. It's going to be perfect. I just want to refocus us briefly on the idea of CBD and downtown parking. So I think that we need to kind of figure out, and that may be best in a workshop. But I don't exactly know. I think we need to identify all of our potential spots. I think we work with CSX and see if we can get some parking lots there. I know we're working with First Baptist. I think there's an opportunity to work with the Lions Club, but they've already entered into an agreement. And there may be a lot of other ideas as we come to this, right? So if we can get kind of a downtown overlay and staff can identify some potential areas, certainly it would be great if the city possessed these and owned these. That was a settled deal, but it sounds like we had a lot of opportunity maybe for long-term leases. But I think we're going to need to get creative because I agree with CBD. I don't want it to require all of these businesses to have their own parking lot. But I think it's a reasonable question to say, well, where is the public parking, right? If I'm in downtown Gainesville, those businesses don't have to have their own, but I can point to the parking garages and they still don't think there's enough. So all of our downtown businesses are already saying the parking's a problem. Everybody that puts on festivals is saying parking's a problem. We've got new businesses that are coming in. We're going to continue to have this conversation. And I think the parking lots need to span from, what will soon become Dr. Hedges, that side of town, all the way to, and I think we just need to take a proactive role in, thinking ahead. Where are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? How do the two-way pairs change where those can be? And then obviously always the question, how do we pay for it, right? Who's paying for it? How do we pay for it? All of those kinds of things. So we put that on, kind of a docket. Let's get through the holidays because we're about to go into all holiday craziness, but at some time in the first of the year, maybe come together with Main Street, the Chamber, some of these businesses, and let's really start thinking kind of seriously about public parking. I know we're going to get some here, and the two-way pairs obviously help out a lot as well. But I don't have my mind wrapped around whether that solves the issue or that just helps the issue, right? That does it for me. We still have a whole other meeting after this one, but we are adjourned. All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go ahead and call this Board of Adjustment meeting November 12th to order. It's 9:04 at the start time. I'm going to ask for an approval of the agenda as it was published.
Motion.
I have a motion from Commissioner Mazon, second from Commissioner Clark. Commissioner Coleman has stepped out to the bathroom, but he will be joining us back for the three commissioners in the room. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. It's going to move us to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as it was published? I have a motion from Commissioner Mazon, second by Commissioner Farnsworth. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Item 2 on the agenda tonight is a quasi judicial. This is Resolution 2024-51/SE 2401. I'm going to go ahead and read our quasi judicial proceedings into the record, as this is our only item for the BOA. We are in a quasi-judicial procedure. This means the commission will stop being a legislative body and become a judicial board, which means that we have to follow certain rules and adhere to a different standard of decision-making. The primary rule must follow concerns testimony, and the substantial and competent evidence standard must be met when the judicial board makes a decision. This standard states the following, and I quote, "All public testimony taken under oath, everyone testifying will be subject to cross-examination. All documents and exhibits shall be entered into evidence. Giving opinion testimony is limited to experts. Closing arguments will be limited to the evidence of record." Mr. Attorney, would you please read into the record Resolution 2024-51?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. This is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Newberry, Florida, serving as the Board of Adjustment of the City of Newberry, Florida, considering a petition for special exception to establish a packaged sale liquor use in an inline commercial plaza within a commercial automotive CA zoning district, availing and subject to those use regulations in the commercial, general, CG, and commercial intensive CI zoning districts as authorized under section 3.2 and 4.14.1 in accordance with section 12.2 of the City of Newberry Land Development Regulations on certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Newberry, Florida, more particularly described in Exhibit A, repealing all resolutions in conflict, providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is pass Resolution 2024-51, SE 24-01, upon its reading by title only.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, would you go ahead and swear in any applicant, participant, or staff who wishes to participate? Thank you, ma'am. Before we begin, we need to disclose any ex parte communications. Disclose whether any member physically inspected the property. Member ex parte communications or any conversations or transmission of information may have bearing influence on any voting member's decision. Commissioner Coleman? Commissioner Clark? Commissioner Farnsworth? Commissioner Mazon? I'm a non-voting chair, but I have nothing as well. I'm going to explain the order of presentation. We're going to follow for every quasi-judicial item for us tonight. We're going to hear the staff overview. The applicant is going to give a presentation, no time limit. Staff's going to give a report and recommendation, also with no time limit. Nobody's contacted me wishing to claim a third-party intervener status. That's going to move us to public comment. Any members of the public wish to speak to this item have 3 minutes to do so. Then we'll hear cross-examinations. Then members of the decision-making body through the chair can ask questions. Staff are participants. Then we'll hear final arguments. City attorney will then advise the decision-making body. Applicable law and factual findings must be made. Then we'll enter into deliberations. If there are no deliberations, we'll have a motion to approve conditions, continue, or deny. John Paul, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For the record, John Paul Perez with the Community Development Department. The request before the board tonight is a special exception for Public Supermarkets Incorporated so they can establish their liquor store adjacent to their grocery store. The property is located in a commercial automotive zoning district where a packaged liquor store is a special exception use. The recommended motion is to adopt the resolution 2024-51. The resulting action would be allowing the establishment of the package store for sale of alcoholic beverages by special exception. The owner of the property is Public Supermarkets Incorporated. Agent is Schuss & Bone LLP. The property is located at 24100 West Newberry Road, and we know what the request is. That is the property at which the liquor store will be located. This is the site plan overlaid on the site. This is a closer up view of where the liquor store will be, directly adjacent to the grocery store. The need to do it by special exception arises in the commercial intensive zoning district. The City of Newberry, as they have established their zoning districts for commercial, work in a tier system where CG is the equivalent of a C1, and commercial intensive is equivalent of a C2, where it gets more intense, but also builds and borrows from the lower tier categories or districts for uses. This being in commercial automotive, still also has to adhere to the use regulations in commercial intensive, so that's why we're here today. I'm going to go right into staff findings and recommendation, and then the applicant has several slides for you as well. So special exceptions, there are criteria that have been established by the commission in the Code of Ordinances. We have reviewed the request against these criteria. They satisfy all of them. Additional requirements for the sale of alcoholic beverages is limitation on the hours of operation, sale and consumption, separation requirements from church and school, and it goes on to talk about special permits in open air, which don't apply here. Staff finds the special exception complies with the criteria, land development regulations, Code of Ordinances. This request, because it's a special exception, is above and beyond what we would normally consider as a use by right. Therefore, we look at things like public interest. We don't believe this would negatively impact public interest. And going on to Justin Bowen's presentation now, so I'll step aside.
Which one was she, Schutz or Bowen?
I didn't either. I wish I was, though. I'll tell you that. My name is Laura Kelly with Schutz & Bowen on behalf of Publix. We do have a presentation if you'd like to hear it. However, it's 9 p.m., so we'll be happy to waive that presentation as well in agreement with staff's recommendations.
If you didn't disagree with anything he says, then I think that's a great idea.
We're in agreement.
All
Thank
right.
you so much.
John Paul, put our recommended motion back up. Anybody from the public want to comment on this agenda item? You have 3 minutes to do so. Me too. I can't wait for BOGO bottles, right? That's going to move us to cross-examination. Anybody, you want to cross-examine? Okay, great. Member Citizen McBody through the chair, you got any questions? Commissioner Clark?
JP, on a special exception, this runs concurrently forever? They
No.
don't have to come back, redo nothing? Are we going to have to get a special exception every time we put a new business in here? Or is this only because of the alcohol?
Because of the alcohol and
That's the only reason, because Publix always has these things in there, you know.
correct.
So, but it'll run forever.
Once it's established and it's in continual operation, that's as good as long as they're in continual operation. Yep.
And, Mr. Mayor, I asked the same question, and what I understand is on the tail of prohibition, that most cities in Florida have some type of city commission approval or required to establish a liquor store. It may not always be a special exception, but it is very common in the state of Florida for there to be something that's got to go back to the commission to approve liquor sales.
Can we get out of the prohibition now? Is it time to move on?
But anyway, that's all I have.
Yeah.
Let's roll.
Roll Lafayette County?
Commissioner Farnsworth?
I remember when we were.
You remember prohibition?
Dry county.
County.
And
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the reasons you see all these county line bars.
Yeah.
Because
All right.
alcoholics used to have to go to
Hitchcock
Gilchrist County to.
All right. Cross the county line. Would you like to make a final argument? You don't have to. Okay. Mr. Attorney, would you please advise the citizen to make a body?
Substantial and competent evidence, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. We'll enter into deliberations. If not, I'll have a motion from Commissioner Mazon, a second from Commissioner Coleman. Comment, question, on the motion on the floor. Public comments, question, hearing none. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. And any members for any conversations? Hearing none, we are adjourned.